Shalom. I'd like to start out by giving all glory, praise, and honor to Yahweh Bahasham, Yahweh Shai Bahasham Rakach Wadash. Double honors to the elders and apostles of the Great Millstone, and Shalom to the elect of Israel. This is Thamayim in Atlanta, and I've got this article pulled up. It's from the Atlanta Voice, and it came out one day ago, and it's from CNN analysis, John Blake. But it says white Christian nationalists are poised to remake America in their image during Trump's second term, author says. And the thing is, they've already made America in their image, and because everything's built on lies and hypocrisy, considering they hold the Bible and say that this is a Bible-fearing nation, but then they do the exact opposite. This is their image that we have here. This is everything that their forefathers worked for. And this all comes from going against the laws, statutes, and commandments of the Lord. And they were set here as an example to show that. But getting into the article, it says there's an image that captures the threat posed by the white Christian nationalist movement and how it became even more dangerous over the next 4 years. Taken during the January 6th insurrection, the photo shows a solitary white man, his head pressed in prayer against a massive wooden cross facing the domed U.S. Capitol building. An American flag stands like a sentinel on a flagpole beside the Capitol under an ominously gray sky. The photograph depicts a foot soldier in an insurgent religious movement trying to storm the halls of American power. What's unsettling about the photo 4 years later is that much of the religious zeal that fed the insurrection is no longer outside the gates of power. Many of that movement's followers are now on the inside because their chosen one, Donald Trump, returns this month to the Oval Office, and they really do lift this man up like he is their chosen one, like he is their Messiah. But Donald Trump is just a man, and he can't go against the will of the Most High, and the Most High's will is to bring Babylon to its knees, to bring it all the way down to destruction. It says, sit on the ground, there is no throne, because their time is over. But they're not going to see it until the kingdom, until it's way too late. It says, this is the scenario Americans could face in Trump's second term. Under Trump, Christian nationalists will have unprecedented access to the power of the federal government. Trump's GOP, or the Grand Old Party, has unified control of Congress and a conservative supermajority which has already blurred the line between separation of church and state in a series of decisions favoring Christian interests, controls the U.S. Supreme Court. And everything's aligned for this devil to see that he has but a short time, which is what they're seeing. That's why you're seeing him try to make these major moves to get America or Babylon back on track, but it's not going to work. But them having this amount of control within the government, it's going to make for the devil to come down with great wrath. This is aligning a lot of authoritarianism, and this is where that cruel ruler might be coming in, who will rule over the Egyptians. But yeah, this could be really bad. But it says Trump has not been shy about what comes next. He ran a presidential campaign that was infused with right Christian nationalist imagery and rhetoric. He vowed in the October campaign speech to set up a task force to root out anti-Christian bias and restore preachers' powers in America while giving access to a group he calls my beautiful Christians. And I could just hear him saying that. If I get in, you're going to be using that power at a level that you've never used before. Trump told an annual gathering of national religious broadcasters in Tennessee during a campaign stop earlier this year. Trump won the support of about 8 in 10 white evangelical voters in November's presidential election. Nearly two-thirds of white evangelical Protestants in the U.S. described themselves as sympathizers or adherents to Christian nationalism in a February 2023 survey. And they're throwing around that word white a lot, so let's just stop that. They are red. They have self-proclaimed themselves as being white, and that happened in 1681 in Virginia. But they are the red people of the scriptures. They are Edom, which means red, and they've been hiding themselves for a very, very long time, calling themselves by whichever country they're from, Macedonians or Greeks or Romans or Europeans or Caucasians and Aryans and all these other names, white people, but truly they are Idumea. They are the Edomites. They are the sons of Esau, and these are the people that the Lord hates. They're the people that the Lord has saved all the way to the day of judgment, and which shows you they're not going to be able to get Babylon back on track. It says we would have healed Babylon, but she cannot be healed. Forsake her. And that is what's happening. But these red Christian evangelicals really believe that they can get it back on track because their inward thought is that their houses will continue forever, but that is not so. This is their downfall, and they better get used to it. Or really fight, try to keep it up. It's not going to work because the Lord's intentions, his will, is to throw this place down. This is scholars have called white Christian nationalism and imposter Christianity, and that is true, whose adherents used religious language to cloak sexism and hostility to black people and non-white immigrants in a quest to create a white Christian America. And it said black people, but those are truly your Jews, the Negroes here in America, and Negroes across the world are of the southern kingdom, of the true tribe of Judah. And then the rest of the Israelites are the Latinos and the Native Americans. And as we know, these red Christian nationalists, they've touched those people, touched the Israelites, in which they have to be judged for that. And that's why their precious America is falling, because it's being judged. The Lord's visiting this place. It says, so what might look like over the next 4 years for Americans who don't subscribe to this movement, yeah, that's what it says. But CNN asked the question of Kristen Kobes-Dumez, one of the nation's foremost authorities on Christian nationalism, which that doesn't even make sense. Christian nationalism, because the true Christians are Israelites, and yeah, they're nationalists, but this is a whole nother nation of people that have taken on Christianity and call themselves nationalists, even though they at the same time they say God loves everyone and everybody could be saved. It just shows they're liars, they're hypocrites. But getting back to this, it says Dumez is a historian and the author of the New York Times bestseller, which I'm going to read this verbatim because they're not speaking of Yahushai. They're speaking of the other guy who they claim is him. But it says, Jesus and John Wayne, How White Evangelicals Corrupted a Faith and Fractured a Nation. Her book has become a go-to source for understanding Christian nationalism. It explains how the movement's tentacles reach deep into American history and pop culture. And that's because this This Christianity has been a stronghold of the Edomites for a very long time, and it has messed up all the other nations, especially the Israelites, because they put up this false image of white Jesus, and that is a lie. And it says a picture says 1,000 words, and so they did that, and everyone subconsciously started to believe that they truly are the people, and that the Lord truly looked that way, and began to denigrate their own selves because they see that they don't look like the Lord, thus must be far away from the Lord and from his salvation. But all this stuff, Salakia, all this is turning onto the Edomites' heads, and Christianity is being uprooted, starting with the apostles and elders of the great millstone, and it's being thrown down. All of the lies are being thrown down. All of it is a very vast lie. All of it's a lot of adding on and taking away, and it's being called out. And the truth of the scriptures is actually coming out, and it condemns America, and it condemns the Edomites who have been running around this earth with the book, slaughtering people at the edge of the sword and forcing them to convert to their false religion. But we are at its end. This is too many people declaring America a Christian nation may seem, to many people declaring America a Christian nation may seem harmless, and it's important to distinguish Christian nationalists from patriotic Christians who have a more inclusive view of what America should be. But Dumez says Christian nationalism is ultimately incompatible with American democracy. And they messed up. They took on this book, but then they don't follow any of the ways. They say the laws are done away with, and they do everything opposite. They celebrate pagan holidays, but they've said this is a Christian nation. And so the Lord, when he returns, is going to judge this place by the book. And they've broken every single law within it. And they're hypocrites as well. It says this is not a pluralist vision of all of American Slovakia. It says this is not a pluralist vision for all of American coming together on a vision for compromise, says Dumez, a history professor at Calvin University in Michigan and a fellow at the University of Notre Dame Center for Philosophy of Religion. It is a vision for seizing power and using that power to usher in a Christian America. Says CNN recently spoke to Dumez about this movement and what Americans might expect during Trump's second term. Her comments were edited for brevity and clarity. And so here's some of the questions that were asked. What will Trump's victory do for the white Christian nationalist movement? And Trump's an insider. They're putting all their hope into him, but he's going to disappoint them. And that will be fantastic. It said, how will that institutionalization of white Christian nationalism look in ordinary people's lives? Goes into critical race theory, book bans, trying to get in the Department of Education, and all these things, but it's all for naught. These people are fooling themselves, and I don't believe they're actually fooling anyone else besides themselves nowadays, and besides Jake, because Jake really got indoctrinated with all this Christianity stuff. But it's all not true, and these people are about to fall. And the truth of it is, they should have never, ever touched that book, considering they are the wicked of the scriptures. But that's what you would expect the wicked to do, to pull some type of deception And that is what they've done. So this is 2 Corinthians 11 and verse 13. It says, "For such are false apostles, deceitful workers, transforming themselves into the apostles of Mashiach." And these going to these Christians, they are false apostles. They weren't sent out from the Lord. They don't have the prophecies. They don't have the true doctrine, but they go out on all their mission trips and have forced this all across the earth, this unbalanced doctrine that they push around the earth. Deceitful workers, because they are the Edomites, but they've been pushing themselves as the people of the Lord all around, from the top to the bottom. Because at the top you have Amalek, those Jays, those 1948ers, who are in the land proclaiming to be the Lord's people. And then you've got the rest of Edom, who's in all sorts of other religions, but mainly Christianity, trying to say that, or trying to control the narrative. And they're at the top of everything. They control the church, and then they're mostly the pastors. I grew up in a Episcopalian church, and it was up to some ruling board somewhere to send us pastors. And this was primarily a Negro church, but we'd always have a quote-unquote white pastor, because they were controlling the narrative. They are deceitful workers. It says, transforming themselves into the apostles of Mashiach. And that's what they have done. They think they're the true Christians. They think they're the true chosen, but they're not. And they've put on for so long that they really believe that they're actually just people, when all they've done is broken every law in the book and touched the apple of the Lord's eye and committed vast blasphemy, especially with those images that they have, all the iconoclasm that they've done, and as well as what they've done to the angels of the Lord, telling everybody that they're aliens and UFOs or little white babies. This is all blasphemy. They're a blasphemous group of people, and they are not the true chosen that have been sent forth. It says, and no marvel, for Satan himself is transformed into an angel of light. And these are the children of Satan. And this they've put into this world bad for good and good for bad. And these bad things that are against the scriptures, against the Lord, they put up and act like they're morally superior for accepting it, particularly alphabet lifestyles and feminism. They push all these things up. It says, therefore, it is no great thing if his ministers being the Edomites, these white Christian nationalists are Satan's ministers, also be transformed as the ministers of righteousness. And they think they're morally upright, but they are nothing but wicked. They are the wicked of the scriptures. You could go to Malachi 1 and 4. It says, whose end shall be according to their works. And they're afraid of that end. If they had done good things, there'd be nothing to be afraid of. But they've done nothing but evil. They've wrought evil in this earth, so that's what they're gonna get back in return. This is Psalms 50 and verse 16. But unto the wicked, it's just saying, the wicked are the Edomites, self-proclaimed white people, including those small hatters, because they're all Edomites. But unto the wicked, the Most High saith, what hast thou to do to declare my statutes? Because they picked up this book, and they've been controlling it and pushing it around the earth. They're the ones who compiled even this app, this Bible app that I'm on, and compiled all the concordances and did all these other translations of the scriptures and wrote all these books, and they're the ones in the church at the top levels. And they've been declaring the Lord's statutes to make themselves look as if they are actually a godly people. It says, or that thou shouldest take my covenant in thy mouth. Because that covenant is for the Israelites. It's not for the Edomites, it's for the Israelites. And they have nothing to do with this, but they've put it on themselves. Seeing thou hatest instruction and castest my words behind thee. So everything this Bible says to do, they do the exact opposite. The scriptures speak about how marriage is basically taking a virgin woman's virginity, and that act of sex is the marriage. But here you have dating. You have all these women jumping from man to man, basically just committing adultery all over. They don't understand the book, and even if they did, they wouldn't be able to follow it. They do the opposite of everything that this book says. This book says to practice his holidays, celebrate his holidays that he has in there, like Passover and the Festival of Lights and so on and so forth. And they have all pagan holidays that they do. It says to put alphabets to death, and they lift up and elevate alphabets. It says that women are below men, they lift up women above men, and we're at the point where we're seeing all of the consequences. This book says to put evil away from you, and we're watching that evil when it has not been put away. We're watching the growth of it and how it's metastasizing and just becoming bigger and bigger and more cancerous. So there's just more and more evil. This is absolutely gross darkness. It says, seeing thou hatest instruction and castest my words behind thee. They can't do right. And they don't even like the words of the Lord. And so you can only imagine the grave and severe judgment that they're about to receive. Revelation 19 and verse 20, because this is their latter end. It says, and the beast was taken, the beast being NATO and the EU, and with him the false prophet being the Catholic Church, and all of the churches or different denominations that come from it. So this would include Protestants, the Protestant Church, all 300 plus denominations of it. This also would include Islam, because that comes from the Catholic Church as well. It says that wrought miracles before him, because this has been a stronghold for the Edomites for so long. And it says, and they've been able to gain power by seeming like they're morally upright when they're everything but. And it says, with which he deceived them that had received the mark of the beast, and them that worshipped his image. So everyone that goes along with this society, they've been deceived by the Edomites, by their false prophet, and by the beast. They are in complete deception. They don't realize that we are at the end of the world, at the end of Esau's world, which is going into an age. They don't see it. They don't see that the ways of this society are actually wicked and evil, and that the Lord is not pleased with it. They've been completely deceived, and so deceived that they're actually going to go as far as putting a foreign object into their bodies so that they can continue with this society and with this life and with this image of this world. It says, these both were cast alive into a lake of fire burning with brimstone. And that lake of fire is America being burnt with nuclear missiles. It's going to be so great and severe that it could be referred to as a lake of fire. That is what they're getting. And when this happens, all of Esau's philosophies and religions and ways will be within that lake of fire also. Everything of Esau's world is going to be burned up when this happens, when this occurs. And there will be no building back up. There's no way to MAGA this thing to make America great again. It has been judged. It has been found wanting, and there's nothing that they can do or say to make the Lord keep this place going. None of their movements, even though they have complete control of the government, it's not going to work. And they're about to be cast into this lake of fire. And so, Lord willing, that was edifying. I'd like to give all glory, praise, and honor to Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Bahasham, Rakach, Wadash. Double honors to the elders and apostles of the great millstone. Shalom to the elect of Israel. Shalom.